This is Soccer 101 with Moon and Rocchio.
All righty, we are back. It's Moon, it's Rocchio. We're going to go through a few things today, including a match review of St. Louis City SC last weekend against New England Revolution. And then we'll get into a couple bits of news in the soccer world, all good news for the most part, and then we'll get into the preview of this weekend's match happening tomorrow. This podcast coming out on Friday, tomorrow, Saturday, against Minnesota United. So, Rock, what a disappointment that Revolution game was. We should have won it. That team is garbage. They have a worse defense than we do. They haven't been able to really piece anything together in this season. They were the only team I think that has a lower rating than we do as far as the standings in their conference. And dude, what a waste of an opportunity. We come away with a 2-2 draw. How'd you feel?
Not great about it, obviously. I guess the one thing you can focus on is just that you didn't play well for 20 minutes, and those 20 minutes are when they scored. They scored in the 28th and the 40th minutes, and what happened was you completely lost all form in your defensive and team structure. A lot of people have covered it and talked about it. Let's quick review. Just the lines got really crazy out of whack, and both vertically and horizontally. I think there was a lot of people who talked about the vertical issues in the fact that there were just huge gaps between the midfield and the defensive line that the Revolution were able to take advantage of, that gave them a lot of chances to work and operate. And the second part was the horizontal issue, is that Chris Durkin was playing super, super, super wide on the right side and super far up and got caught out of position too many times. And the reason why that was so bad and why it was so exacerbated is that, and we've talked about it on the last episode, is that Edward Leuven has been being utilized on the right side more often as a way to balance out the attack, which has been a very good thing. But the problem is you then need the balance to then work, and that somebody needs to cover the left side more. And so it was weird how right side and how forward focused Chris Durkin was. And that led, again, to holes both horizontally and vertically in the lines that led to a bad 20 minutes. And obviously they were able to get things back. They changed the formation. They get the attack going. They pull one back with Simon Becher. And then you think that they're going to be able to maybe take the lead because they continually had the game in hand. But unfortunately, they're never able to get that third goal, and they leave with just 1 point in a 2-2 draw. So it definitely was disappointing. But that's soccer. I mean, when it gets down to it, when you lose games and you win games more often than not, it's because your team didn't have 3 or 4 huge moments where you made a huge mistake, and the other team did. And in City's case, they played 75 minutes of great soccer and 20 minutes of horrendous, inexcusably bad soccer, especially on the defensive end, and that's why they only walked away with 1 point.
Yeah, it was rough to watch because we made a really poor team look decent, and it's amazing that you mentioned all the things that are happening on the right side, because that's where they kept beating us. They almost, they got Nowinski out of position multiple times. Obviously, the cool thing is Kessler scored his first goal for St. Louis, and then shortly after he slips on the right side after covering for Nowinski. Yeah,
that just happens.
Yeah, and it was just an ultimate bummer as far as that first goal. The second one never should have happened, though. Again, they come up on their left side, our right side, and just made it look like that was a known weak spot that they kept trying to take advantage of. And if you look at the highlights, the highlight reel will make their game look better than they played. And I'm talking about the Revolution. They should have been put away multiple times, but they had a couple highlights because we just gave them half a dozen opportunities they never should have had. It was a bummer. We'll go through the notes. So Kessler scored. Becher scored his second MLS goal of the season.
Great goal.
That was a cool goal. Now, Vasilev had a similar opportunity in the first half that he totally just blew. You got to put that on target.
Yeah, let's
believe
focus
Thor
on
had a sitter as well.
Positive factors from that, which is the Becher goal and the missed Indy Vasilev goal that you point out at the very beginning of the game. And you can go to my Twitter feed, or you can go to the excellent Matt Baker's Twitter feed. And because he had the goal that you're talking about from Becher, and then I actually clipped off the miss you're talking about from Vasilev, because they actually, both of those shots came from a very similar buildup from Marcel Hartel. So if we want to continue the positivity from last week's episode, Moon,
God,
Marcel
Hartel's
Hartel had an incredible game, and he continues to just impress just every single game. His movement, his passing, his understanding of space. Again, he has been one of the big reasons that City has made this big shift where they've moved Edward Leuven around, because who's been coming deeper to cover the spots that Edward Leuven hasn't been in? It's been Marcel Hartel and Cedric Teuchert. And I don't want to only criticize Jake Nerwinski or Chris Durkin, because they did make mistakes on the right side. But if you looking like the 10th or 11th minute, and looking like the 17th minute, and looking like the 4th minute before that, and you can take screenshots and you can see Cedric Teuchert and Marcel Hartel have tracked back and are covering ground in the middle of the field because Leuven and Durkin are up or and to the right. Then check the feed in the middle of that 20 minutes when everything's going bad in the 35th minute, and they're nowhere in the screen. And so that's why I want to focus on the good things with Hartel, but I also want to correctly point out there were mistakes made. And while at first you just want to say, well, Nerwinski couldn't put together another good game, again, I think people have to remember, have to think, where is Nerwinski's positioning? Where is the person getting behind them relative with the ball? And who's actually at fault? And a lot of those mistakes on the right side come from the fact that there's nobody covering any space. And so the center backs are having to shift over, and then they're creating the space that then gets exploited. And so that's the big thing. So Hartel, again, great offensive game, but where was he in the other parts of the midfield where the team actually lost the game? So that's the balance. Great game offensive, but you just slip up for 10 minutes, and no matter how good your offensive game is, it's not good enough to actually get you all 3 points. So it's a weird push and pull.
It did look weird. It looked like we were actually used to possession so much and so strangely used to possession for a moment that those guys were caught up, waiting for the ball to come back up. And still be possessed. It was strange. But I will say this, and I'm going to zoom this out, and this was a mid-match thought that I had. Mid-match, I was watching Hartel and Teuchert, and I thought, okay, listen, our defense is still not the greatest defense, but clearly an improvement from what it was. I do really like Kessler. I'm so happy he's there. There's still a lot of improvements to go there, but between Teuchert and Hartel, mostly Hartel, I thought to myself, man, remember how I've been talking these 2 seasons about if Leuven is our Ryan Giggs, and I hate to Manchester United this again. If Leuven is our Ryan Giggs, the guy that I've been looking for and just hoping to get, it's one of those franchise guys that's somewhat of an unsung hero, although Hartel's going to be a lot louder than unsung for sure. You know, that's filling that Scholes vibe or that Herrera sort of position, or maybe even Michael Carrick or something like that. And I kind of see it in Hartel. In mid-match, I wanted to just put the medal around him and say, what's your contract? Can we double it? Can we double it
He's
now?
already a DP. He's one of the highest paid players on the team. He's doing fine.
I'm just saying, I think
he's doing what he should be doing when he's getting paid that much.
For sure, but what I'm saying
talisman. I like that.
He's looking like somewhat of a franchise player, like a Leuven partner. And Teuchert has been delivering, but Hartel, the way that I've been watching him hustle and look at the ball and move the ball, seems to be a super high IQ, and I think we're only going to see improvement from that guy.
Yeah,
and
he's incredible.
Yeah, and really, like, if I had to put the medal around one person's neck that has relieved the most stress from me that's been built up from this poor season, it would be him. Now, 100% again, even though this was just a total letdown of a match, I still think we're looking at a playoff team here. Do I think we're going to make the playoffs this year? I don't know. I sure am hoping so. But can you agree with me that we're looking at least at a playoff squad now that it's built?
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to be negative about that. I mean, they're playing closer with all the teams. They're able to score goals. The defense looks better. Part of that, obviously, is their ability to control the ball. Part of that is because the offense is better. You know, again, it's always a kind of a push and pull connected kind of thing. And so, yeah, I think they are playing like a playoff team. And we'll play some audio later. We'll have the video too, if you're watching on YouTube. Vijay Klauss kind of having some similar thoughts as well, because the attack is really special, and Marcel Hartel is absolutely incredible. And again, Matt Baker does a great job on Twitter and everything that he does with his podcast. And he was throwing out an interesting trivia question, which was, if you had to guess the 3 players who have the most key passes per 90 on City without any minutes restriction. And the list came out to Marcel Hartel, Celio Pompeu, and Edward Leuven. And obviously Marcel Hartel and Celio Pompeu are in much smaller numbers, much smaller sample size than Edward Leuven, whose number is ridiculous for how many minutes Edward Leuven has played. But nonetheless, it just shows you how quality Marcel Hartel is. And it shows you, when you talk about them being a playoff team next year, if and when Celio Pompeu is able to make his return, if you have a healthy Edward Leuven, a healthy Celio Pompeu, and a Marcel Hartel, combined with all the other depth we've now seen in the attack, it's starting to look like an extremely potent attack. There's a lot of reasons to be positive about going forward. I mean, that's an exciting team. I'm not sure exactly if you move Pompeu over to the right side, if you move Hartel to the right side, if you would move Hartel to the middle and Teuchert to the right side. I'm not exactly sure how the 4-man attack would look with those 4 guys, but I mean, I'm pretty excited about the idea that that's what the attack's going to be once Pompeu's healthy next season.
Yeah, just to counter a little bit of what you said that they're playing like a playoff team. I didn't say that. I said they are a playoff team. Like, as far as the squad, this last match, a couple weeks ago they played like a playoff team. This last match, both those teams, I felt like I was watching 2 teams fight to not be relegated. You know
yeah,
what
but I'm
saying?
just saying, have you watched
difference.
Have you watched Minnesota play? I mean, they're right now they are technically a playoff team. I mean, it's not that hard to be a playoff team in the MLS. Is my point.
Yeah, you're right. They are technically a playoff team as of now. I don't think that we're going in playing a really difficult team, though. If you want to jump into the preview of the Minnesota United squad.
I don't want to jump into Minnesota United just yet.
Okay.
Because I do want to get into a couple of things as we look forward to Minnesota United, because yesterday's press conference with St. Louis City was really fascinating, and I know there's some nuggets here I have that will really get you going, Moon. So we're going to jump in right now with our first one right now, which was a very simple question for Coach John Hackworth from Tom Schwartz, which was simply, does he think that City is ruthless enough? And I have a feeling I know what your answer would be, Moon. Let's see what Coach Hackworth's answer was.
I don't think we're ruthless enough now. Very candidly, we're not. We haven't figured that out yet. And that's something that we need to get better at. I hope we can do that by Saturday night. But we're really close. We're really close. So when I sit up here and I think and I hope and I look at what we can do, I'm very optimistic that we will do it. But we're not there yet.
Yeah, totally agree. Pretty much everything he's been saying these last couple of weeks, I'm like, yeah, I know. Yeah, you're right. We're definitely not ruthless. I haven't seen any ruthlessness from this squad this year. Zero.
What about offensively?
Zero. You think our offense?
I'm asking you.
Ruthless?
I'm asking you if you with this group with Becher, Klauss for the 40 minutes where they went with that double striker, not 40 minutes. I guess it was maybe a little bit less than that. For the time they went with that double striker, 3 men in the back formation against the New England Revolution, for a 4-goal performance against the Portland Timbers, for a 2-1 win against the Galaxy. Do you at times think this new attack had a ruthless edge to it?
No, never. I think ruthless. So let me back up what I'm saying. I think ruthless is a word that can be, I don't want to say bastardized, but we'll say used in an improper way, like epic. We've totally lost the control of the word epic. Epic is it's a dead word. It means nothing now because people have used it so improperly for so long, and I'm afraid of using that with ruthless. Now, ruthless to me, we've been a squad that when we've scored, even if we've scored, outscored opponents or doubled their score, we're happy to get goals. Happy to get goals is not ruthless. Ruthless is you're up 4-0 against a squad that has no chance of even scoring against you, and you're going at it as if your contract is on the line, your family's being held hostage, and you're trying to get 2 more goals.
Moon.
That is what ruthless is. And I don't soften it. Don't allow it to be softened. Do not let it get off the leash.
Jeez.
Don't give. How am I wrong here? Ruthless is a ruthless word.
I think we've seen. You're not wrong. I'm just giving you crap. You're not wrong.
Okay, I was like,
you're
what,
not
man?
wrong at all. We've talked a lot about the defense. They were going to talk a lot about the defense, but I think a lot of the conversation around City, and I credit a lot of the fans and the podcasters around City for keeping this conversation not just about the defense, but about the things that exacerbate City's defense. Because I'm not saying City has a great defense, but why does Jake Nerwinski go from being able to stay in Joseph Painsill's hip pocket for an entire game against the Galaxy to why does he look like he has a terrible game against a squad like the New England Revolution? And the fact of the matter is because this team puts itself in the worst possible position to defend at times because they can't possess the ball. And so to that point, John Hackworth was asked, how was this week's practice and training all about focusing on defense? And he talks about that balance between defending and possession.
Yes and no. I mean, look, when we are better on the ball, we are better defensively. So like we worked on how we attack a lot too, because that initiates us into being ready to defend the way we want to defend. It puts us in a position on the field where we can dictate things a little better when we know we can play into an area and then counter press if we lose it. And we know we're going to lose it at times. We're going to make a mistake. The opposition's going to make a great play. You know, it's one of those constant give and takes. My point is that you can't just focus on the defending because the attacking side, and clearly we're trying to become a team that can be much better with the ball. And if we dictate it with the ball, we'll be more ready for the hard moments when we have to play against it. Yeah,
man. Chess, not checkers. And I've said this a couple times, and I think the coaches have mentioned this over the past season. There's just not a lot of obvious thinking ahead. You know what I mean? And especially as defenders or, central defensive midfielders, like you're constantly running 2 and 3 possibilities for where the ball could be next. On a bounce, on a play, on a counter, on whatever. And we're just not seeing a lot of that. Now, I think some of that is chemistry. I think some of that's just playing it within a particular system. Obviously, we have a few new players that are still getting used to that. They've only been here a number of weeks or months. But it's a band, and I hate to take it to stage, but that's what most of my life is going to compare itself to. And when you're in a band, you can be in a band with just some of the greatest musicians on earth. And sometimes it'll be, you're clicking, your chemistry is there. Everybody's IQ is buzzing at the same sort of level as far as what to anticipate next, where this musician's going to take it, where this person's going to take it, where the rhythm section may take it. But sometimes that takes a little bit of time. But a team is just a ruthless team. And I don't think we've had an opportunity to be a ruthless team or a ruthless offense yet. Until we're just everybody is buzzing on this chess not checkers sort of vibe and anticipating the same possibilities, the same amount of possibilities, a few steps ahead of where the play is. We're just not going to see that. We're going to see a team that looks really good one moment, and then the same line looks awful the next. And we're going to see a team that's happy to score goals and nowhere near what could be considered ruthless.
All right, considering we'll get back to that point on ruthless here, because while the word ruthless was not brought up, Klauss was the player we got to talk to in yesterday's press conference, and he did have some thoughts on how the team is looking with that new attack.
I think now we have a lot of quality in front, and I think the whole team have a lot of quality right now. I felt like much easier to play. I think players, they understand each other very well as well. It's players that they don't want to have the ball for a long time, players that they want to play as a team. So yeah, this helps a lot. I said after the game against New England to the guys that I felt was much easier to play and be around. So I think we create a lot of chance, and that's what we want.
I mean, he didn't call him ruthless, but a striker saying he felt like it was easier to play with a group of guys. I don't know if there's a more casually higher compliment that a number 9 can give to a group of midfielders and his paired striker in a two-striker formation than what João Klauss said in that clip there.
Yeah, totally. I hope it's genuine too. I never know. I take everything at pretty much like
Jesus.
face value. Well, I'm not saying
Okay,
bad. I'm not saying
fine.
anything bad.
No. You know what?
Listen.
I don't even want to hear your reaction to that clip because you want to throw out the word genuine when talking about João Klauss. Here is João Klauss, and this is a long clip. Saddle
I'm not saying it's not genuine. I'm just saying I'm not sure he's going to say something bad.
If you're a City fan, Moon might think this is trite, but if you're a City fan, I think if you're not already a huge Klauss fan, if you're already a big Santa Claus fan, listen to this man talk about this team, this organization, and this fan base from yesterday, and we'll see what Moon talks about when it comes to it's how genuine it is.
Yeah, for me, my relationship with them is very, very special. Everybody knows how connect with the club I am. I'm here from the day one. I was one of the first signs, and to be one guy that helped the team to from the start, it's something that I think it's one experience in life. So I'm very connected with the city, very connected with the fans. Also, I have to say thank you because coming back from the injury, you don't know what to expect. And then when they give you so much love, this gives me also so much power to give my best for them. And yeah, that's not a secret for anyone how happy I am here, how much I love the club, how much I like the people that work here. I have a great relationship with everybody. I know everybody in the club. I know the owners. The owners also, they are very close to us. So they do amazing job connecting with us, all the media stuff, all the people. I know everybody, so I'm very, very happy. I appreciate what they do for me in all the moments, even in the tough moments. They are always there, not just for me, but for everybody. They always support us. And what I can promise them, that the season is not over, and we're gonna go for these 6 games with the best we can, with our best. And I'm sure if we don't make playoffs, we'll be for very small difference.
I love everything about that. That man spoke from the heart right there. Again, credit to the fans for nurturing a relationship for a player that he feels to give that answer when asked about his relationship with the fans and how it felt to hear their cheers when he made his return to the field and at City Park. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah, obrigado, João Klauss. I appreciate the guy, and I think he's totally genuine. I'm just not. I don't think he's ever going to come out, especially after the injury. He's come back. Things are on a better turn. I don't think he's even seeing any negative or thinking any negative, and I think he's talking about genuine positive that he feels. He's getting along with things. Again, let's make it band parallel. Yeah. I'm a singer. I'm playing with a guitar player. We're up front, and I'm clicking with the guitar player. That's great. But what I'm saying is this team is going to fully turn around when the guitar player and the singer are not only buzzing and working well together, they don't even realize there's a rhythm section there, because the rhythm section is so trusted and so on it and has been so solid that support is already there. And that is when a singer or a performer or a guitar player can really fly. It's when they don't even hear the rhythm. It's just there. It's happening. It's laying the foundation for confidence, where that is where this offense is going to excel, because we've got the talent. And I'm not saying I'm putting it all on the defense. I'm not saying I'm putting it on the defensive shoulder. I'm saying when the team gels and everybody is thinking along the same lines, again, in those chess moves, that's when Klauss, Hartel, Becher, all these guys are just going to be let loose, and their talent's gonna flourish, and that will create opportunities for ruthlessness.
Yeah, and that'll make the defense better, because if the defending is going to be a whole team thing, possession's got to be a whole team thing. That's always going to work on and build on itself, and so that'll make the whole team better, defensively, offensively, possession, transition, everything gets better. That's how a team should grow. And after last year, seeing the team stagnate and then regress, that's the main thing I think City fans want to see. One more thing, Moon, from this past week game and training that I wanted to ask you. We heard the story of when City was making their big shift, going to a 2-striker formation, 3 men at the back, that Hackworth sent Klauss in with a piece of paper with the instructions for the team on how to change their formation, and I would assume matchups and things like that. When you were playing, did you ever have coaches use like a physical note or diagram in a change to make a formational change? Did that ever happen in your career with any of your coaches?
Oh man, I don't think so. I don't remember.
Moon's got to be really humble because he's like, well, I was starting, so I mean.
No, I wasn't. I was not very good. I was not very good actually until
So when you were
later,
coming off the bench, did you ever have to get a written note to bring out to the field to convey the full formational change structures with a sub?
No, we played here. I had just the absolute blessing of my sporting life of being with, for the most part, the same neighborhood kids from CYC leagues and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
And everything happened in South County in such a beautiful and organic way in the 80s and 90s, where all these squads, they were playing CYC, they were playing these different club teams, and then slowly but surely everybody sort of melded into 1, 2, or 3 teams, and it was coached by kind of the same family of coaches, if you will, not real family, but like everybody sort of in this South County scene. And I went to Lindbergh that had a run of really incredible coaches that were really looking out for the long term.
There you go.
And we had a particular coach, Giesing. This dude was one of the assistant coaches up in the high school, and he had heard about these CYC competitions that were happening through the 80s and 90s. Obviously, he was a big part of it, and he saw it and was like, "Yo, let's just develop a middle school program for all these kids and just get them in. We'll play them against these club teams." So basically, our middle school, he came down and did a middle school indoor team, and we did these indoor-outdoor teams.
Oh,
where we were
that's
playing,
awesome.
Yeah, so we were playing season long, and again, all these kids I'd either played with or against for the last 10 freaking years or something, since we were like 6 years old.
I feel like there's a lot of kids in St. Louis who have very similar, who like their soccer story would have a very similar kind of bent to it.
Yeah, and it was a really interesting time where some of the club stuff was kind of rotting, and some of the other stuff was getting weird. So it was okay to be blending these weird,
changed.
these weird amalgams. It was before this new version of
But never
club
any written instructions on a sub, huh?
No, and here's why I brought that up is it's because we had played in such similar systems since we were so young. So even by the time some of my teammates got to very important starting positions in varsity or their club teams or whatever, everybody was used to playing 2, maybe 3 systems at the max, which really benefited us.
We're going to have to, I tell you what,
we ran over people because we had such a chemistry. Everybody knew their roles by the point.
We're going to have to get like some whiteboards in here one day and just have you break down your high school schemes. I would legitimately nerd out about that. That'd be fascinating to me. I want to hear about these formations.
The only reason it would be interesting to hear from me because I was nowhere near a star player or even a starter.
Yeah, you had a great view of the field. Is what I'm saying.
I had what I was I was the most competitive kid in one of the least competitive. I was one of the most competitive hearts in the least competitive bodies. I was always 2 feet shorter than everybody, and it became a big man sport in the 90s. Remember, in the 70s and 80s, soccer was still a small man sport. In the 90s, we had a lot of the football studs and a couple other kids that were good at soccer coming over.
Hoofing it downfield and blasting headers.
Well, yeah, just big dudes. I mean, if you look at some of our middle school teams, I look like somebody's little brother that wandered in with somebody else's uniform on. And there was a few of us that were smaller. And typically, we just had to work harder than everybody. And I didn't have the skills or the size that half, if not 70% of my guys did. But I always was with these teams and always made these cuts because I worked my butt off. And part of working my butt off was really understanding the psychology of the game, trying to really dive into I hung on every word these coaches said. I'm trying to figure out, what are they thinking? Why are they choosing him to go over here? What am I not seeing? What are they seeing? So that was a really big deal to me.
Interesting.
Was understanding and respecting the coaches, their decisions, and then music took over my life, and
There you
I
go.
was out of it.
Well-
but
Well,
I was never going to be a pro. But again, I loved the sport so freaking much, and I worked. My heart is what made the squad. It was never my skills.
alrighty. Well, we know it's still kind of a big man sport at times, and it might be a big man sport for St. Louis City this weekend because it looks like there's a good chance, based on how Hack was talking in the presser yesterday, it looks like there's a good chance Klauss gets the start. Again, Klauss was the guy that they brought to the press conference as well. They talked about how he worked extremely hard in training. Hack ran him like crazy, apparently. Klauss said it was a very hard week of training. I feel like we're going to see a Klauss start. I do not think that means we're going to see a formation change. I think the way he was talking about the two-striker formation, it seems like it's going to be a go-to for late-game situations to get an extra goal if they're tied or down. So I would expect João Klauss to get the start. And then depending on where the game's at, whether the game is tied or City is behind, I would expect an early Simon Becher sub where they then go two-striker for a little bit. But if they're leading, I would honestly not be surprised if we see a Becher for Klauss switch, because I'm not sure how much they want to push Klauss if they don't have to, knowing that he's going to be an important player to get, now what essentially comes down to needing all 6 wins out of the next 6 games. And so I do think there's a good chance we see Klauss start. I do not think that's going to be a formation change. I've abandoned, even though it really worked for him, it looks like the only time we're going to see 3-men at the back will be with a two-striker formation. So I don't think we're going to see a 5-man back. I don't think we're going to see a two-striker formation. I think we'll see a really typical start for them, with maybe 1 or 2 changes. I think it'll be Klauss up front. I think we'll see Vasilev start again, and I'm not sure about the fullbacks. I think that's up in the air. We'll have to see what our lineup we put out on Twitter tomorrow is, Moon, because I'm still undecided on that one. But the way Hack was talking, if someone was willing to bet you, take Klauss to start tomorrow.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I was gonna take that bet as well. I don't want to harp on last weekend, but I think this weekend, Minnesota United is a completely beatable team.
And they're ninth.
Right?
They're literally the team right now that you're chasing. And obviously that can change. They could jump Seattle, Dallas, or Austin could win some games. Technically, you're literally even with points right now with Sporting Kansas City. So other teams could technically be the one you're chasing. But right now, Minnesota United is in 9th place, and you play them twice. So you can get 6 points from them. This is unbelievably crucial.
This is the team that you want to take down. This is the team that you want to knock out of that spot. I think it's going to come down to, will Vasilev, Thor, and Nowinski just step up and stay solid? And if they do, I think this is a win.
I think Tottenham's back. I'll spoil
I'll
spoil the Saturday lineup prediction you and I have been putting out the last few weeks. I'll spoil that a little bit.
He blew his spot in 1 week, huh?
Tottenham's back at right back.
He blew his spot.
I mean, you ride the hot hand. Tottenham was off. You put Nowinski in. He had a great game. He didn't have as good of a game. Again, not as bad as people think because he got exposed by other people making mistakes, but he didn't have as good of a game, so you give it back to the guy who has been your nominal starting right back. Ride the hot hand. If a guy has a cool game, you give another guy a chance. Obviously, I don't know how people trained, and I think a lot of times coaches should go off, obviously, how people look in training, but I can't see training. In fact, the media at the most gets to see about 15 minutes of training, so that's not a lot to discern from. So that's up in the air, but I just feel like we might see Tottenham back in there.
Easy to lose your job, and you're right. Tottenham, if he comes out, it's probably going to be
a rotation.
On fire.
It's not about. Framing it as losing your job is the wrong way to look at it. There's a lot.
Maybe it's the right way.
No, there's a lot of games to play. These
are professionals.
This team,
play for your job.
This team, and very rarely a lot of team, and very rare, not very rare for the MLS, I should say. This team plays a lot of formations and a lot of rotations throughout a 34-plus game season. No one's losing their job. You're down on a deep depth chart, and you're not playing one game because another guy is going to get a shot because you didn't have the best game. We don't need to be talking about people losing their jobs and things like that. Come on.
Whatever, bro. You're a professional. Play for your job. That's
hey, listen, you get paid a lot of good money being that swing fullback who can play both right and left back behind the starters. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Make a lot of money doing that. Best job in sports, backup quarterback.
7:30 start tomorrow. Last year, you mentioned that we have 2 games still this year with Minnesota United. Last year, we split the games. We won in Minnesota. They won here. Klauss did score against Minnesota last time. So I definitely expect to start.
I mean,
from him
everything's
as
a must-win.
well.
Just everything's a must-win. You're 8 points back again with a and you have a game on, and you have a game, one more game played than Minnesota. So everything's a must-win. Just it doesn't matter. Obviously, LAFC is going to be an absolute bear of a match, but at this point, get the 3 points in front of you. It sucks that you couldn't win all 3 of these past 3 because obviously all 3 of them are winnable. You could have beaten Portland. You could have beaten New England. We could be looking at them being 4 points out. Completely different situation with 2 games against that team. But listen, this is the reality. Go get 3 points, and if you don't, it's probably over.
Yep. So before we close up, what are your thoughts on Pochettino getting the U.S. men's national team job?
I love the move.
Dude, me too.
Yeah,
I, for
absolutely.
one, we're an MLS podcast, a St. Louis City SC fan podcast here, but I had to just mention it because, to be honest, and I used to be a part of the supporter groups. I used to go to events. I used to watch every match in some sort of restaurant or a bar or something like that. I was such a big fan, and I have not been excited about anything men's national team since Pulisic came in, I honestly. So this is the first thing that I've had with that level of excitement. And it sucks to say the first thing that excites me this much about the U.S. men's national team is not an American. But, hey, it's all good. I'm happy he's coming. I hope he turns the whole freaking program upside down, and we can start talking about the men's national team like we should.
I mean, a 54%
in the next decade.
A 54% winning percentage at Tottenham is nothing to sniff at. I'll take it. He wasn't very good at Chelsea, but Chelsea hasn't been very good since then. So
I think he's had a lot of challenges.
He has, and I think he's stepped up to them. And I think, listen, if I was him, I also would have taken a job like PSG after Tottenham, because there's nothing like going to a title farm after going to the most bereft, the most title sick club in the Premier League and trying for 5 years to get them over the hump and failing. I like him as a coach. I do not give. I could not care less what nationality the coach of this team is. Couldn't care less. I don't care. Find somebody from any coach from any country who can win you the World Cup and piss off the rest of the world. I don't care. It'll be hilarious. Just find me that, especially if you can do it on your home soil. That's all that should matter. I don't care what country he's from. Maybe a little. Right. I kind of care what country he's from. But there's
of course.
There's like 3 countries that I'd be like, okay, can we not? Can we not? Okay.
Oh, what are those?
We're good on that.
All right, St. Louis, Minnesota United tomorrow. Again, we're recording this on Friday, so it's happening Saturday, the 14th, 7:30 p.m. on MLS. Season Pass on Apple. Rocc, what else you got? Anything else?
That's all I got. Let's just see some goals.
All right, how about a hat trick from Klauss? Go!